the more pressure I put on myself not to eat those cookies and not to have that ice cream, the successful I might be in the short term, but then eventually I'm going to fail and I'm just going to binge. Welcome back to another episode of the Upgrade My Rituals podcast. My name is Kevin McKellar, the host of the show, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you are a subscriber to the show, then it has been a while. It's been months. And if you are new to the show, of course, welcome to, like I said, the Upgrade My Rituals podcast, where this is the show ultimately we're going to talk about ways to be more productive through a custom set of daily routines. Not routines that I tell you to do or some guru tells you, but routines that you ultimately come up with through a system that I've coined ritual design. And this is ultimately where at the end of the day, your head hits that pillow, you are going to sleep, and you feel great about what you accomplished that day and where your life is headed. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about accountability. And I thought this would be a really great time to talk about this and some ways to be more accountable through your daily routines, because we have the holidays coming up. We always have setbacks around the holiday season, right? And it really starts with Halloween. We buy this huge bag of candy, maybe even 2 bags of candy. About a quarter of it gets handed out. For us, we have one little bag of candy because we don't have a single trick-or-treater. The last 3 years, we have had 0 trick-or-treaters. So what do we do with this tiny bag of candy, which is still more than enough that I ever want? We eat the whole damn thing. And then we continue on. A couple more weeks go by and we're busy, so we do a lot of eating out, right? And then Thanksgiving comes, which is just a nightmare. Thanksgiving puts us in a weird mindset. And it says, oh, God, all right, well, I can have this and I'll be good tomorrow, next week. We start making excuses. Just go ham. Just go hard on Thanksgiving. I do every year. I load up. I have like this, it's like a mound. Like I just eat as much as I want. I feel as crappy as I want. I'm not upset. I don't care. I don't do that ever. I do that once a year, right? That's okay. That's what it's there for. And then we're heading into, the December holidays, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever. And of course, New Year's. A lot of drinking, a lot of busy schedules. Again, more eating out, Christmas and Hanukkah. We have parties and different things like that. At work, there's always, random munchkins laying around and cookies, and some patient brought in this. And it's like January 1st rolls around. And now January 1st, everything's going to be better. So how do we hold ourselves accountable? There's 2 ways to do this. Way number 1 is to not be so hard on yourself. From the last 3 months of the year, as I just mentioned it, from October to the end of December, I really don't stick to a diet per se. My diet of calorie intake stays the same. I try to eat as much as, for calorie and weight gain, I try to eat as much as I can. My lunches are always very, very healthy because I order, I use Trifecta as a meal delivery service. And I pretty much all of my meals are all very set in stone because I've been doing them for years. And, my dinners are sometimes where I fail, and that's kind of an ongoing thing. But the desserts, right? That's where the last 3 months I kind of just do what I want. If I want ice cream, I'll have ice cream. And if I don't, I don't. It's really not that big of a deal. But the biggest strategy around this is that I'm just not too hard on myself. The more pressure I put on myself not to eat those cookies and not to have that ice cream, the successful I might be in the short term, but then eventually I'm going to fail and I'm just going to binge, right? So I just do whatever I need to do. And then of course the new year comes, and even the first 7 days, I don't worry about it because New Year's Day, I'm a I'm recuperating a little bit, right? And then there might be the weekend or something like that. So I always wait till a few days after to do whatever I want to do, which is usually getting back to a cutting routine. And if I'm going to have any type of dessert, it's going to be one organic dark chocolate peanut butter cup at night. I mean, that's what I do. That's my, if I need it. And if I don't, then I don't. But that's all I do. And I just don't judge myself. And that is not an answer to how to be accountable. I understand that, but that's just one route to do this. The other side of this coin is if you want to hold yourself accountable through the holiday season, there's a lot of different strategies around that. Accountability comes in a couple of ways. The first way that we manufacture accountability is having an accountability buddy. So having somebody, whether it's a family member or a friend, ideally somebody that's not family, that holds you accountable. It could be a simple text message every other day. It could be a phone call once a week. It could be a phone call every day. It could be as simple as a Slack message at work or whatever. But somebody that you check in with or that checks in with you, that, checks in and says, how are we doing with this, right? He's sticking with the diet, have any desserts, if you did, how many, and what are you going to do to get back on track or whatever it is. But having that extra person is really, really solid. And luckily in my life, I've never had something so serious where I needed that. So I've used other tactics. There are other tactics that I've never have any personal experience using, where you can ultimately set up filters where this is a negative consequence. So this is strategy number 2, negative consequences, where if you break your habit, for instance, ice cream, right? If you have that Ben & Jerry's ice cream, what will happen? Well, ultimately, you have to, there still has to be some manual labor of love here, but there is, say, a donation that you make to a charity that you really, really don't want to make that donation to. Not necessarily a charity, but an organization, right? Some type of really bad, evil organizations, and I'm sure there's a few that pop into your mind. But this strategy I first heard from Tim Ferriss, and I think you can probably, I'll leave a link in the description where he goes into a little bit more detail and some more ideas about how this is done, and something that necessarily, if you have in tandem, your accountability partner might be able to help you with that. And if you talk to that person and say, yeah, I screwed up, and they're going to say, okay, well, guess what? I just have to click this button and that donation is going to be made to, I don't know, the KKK or something crazy, right? But either way, those are 2 initial strategies that are a little bit more hardcore than the third. And the third is to have some type of external reference. The way I do it is I use the Ritual Design Planner. That's obviously a big part of my life. And it's really unbelievable because the days and the times and periods of my life where I don't use it, I fall right off track. The accountability for myself is if I'm having blank pages there, I don't want to see blank pages. I don't want to see a single blank page, because that tells myself that I'm not being accountable to myself. And it's an external trigger, so it'll either sit on my in my living room upstairs or somewhere in my office, and that will obviously trigger me to start being accountable, right? So having my routines, and if I'm following my ritual design, then there is no room for ice cream, because that's not part of my PM routine. Right? There's no section in that says, okay, now sit on the couch and have a pint of ice cream. That's the whole point of this. It's not necessarily about bad habits, good habits. That always has its place, but the process of building a routine is much easier for most people to develop and insert these types of habits and lifestyles that they want to build. That is pretty much off of the top of my head, which I may revisit this topic and go a little bit deeper into accountability. But those are the ways that I know this holiday season where you could either let it go, take it easy and just do your best, right? And don't be so hard on yourself, or really put the pedal to the metal and use one of those strategies. Either find that person who's going to hold you accountable, set up some type of negative trigger. You can even set up, again, just thinking off the top of my head, you can set up a type of negative, say, a tweet to go out or something like that, something that's kind of somewhat automated, but that has a negative consequence for you if that's how you're driven. Or you can use some type of external trigger and or reference, some type of, whether it be a planner or some type of wall calendar or some type of streak tracker or whatever it may be. So these are just a few ideas to keep you accountable for whatever type of routines and or habits and or healthy decisions you are trying to make over the next few months. Thank you so much for coming back and listening and being a subscriber to the podcast. If you're not, please subscribe, and it'll help more people find the podcast. Leave a comment and leave a review. That would be fantastic. And with that being said, I will see you on the next episode of the Upgrade My Rituals podcast.